back to Emotional Mojo. You know, 65 million people in the U.S. are responsible for the care of a family member, but it does not have to cost you your own health and happiness. And our next guest offers advice in her book, The Thrive Guide for Caregivers. Care for yourself so that you can care for others. Welcome, Executive Coach Linda Cobb. Linda, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
It's good to have you here. You know,
Thank you.
We were talking about this earlier, that many Americans, too, are in what's been dubbed the sandwich generation, where they're caring for their own parents, but they still have children in the house to care for as well.
Absolutely.
What kind of strain is this putting on Americans?
It places a great deal of strain. Caregivers are notoriously guilty of not taking care of themselves.
Exactly.
And when you don't take care of yourself, you're not much good to other people, as you know. So it's critically important to take care of yourself really for others. That was a main thing that I committed to focusing on.
Yeah.
In my situation, because I realized if I have got to take care of myself, so it reinforced my self-care tremendously.
And
during
you had
that time.
3 people you were taking care
I
of,
did.
right?
I had a period of, I've worked, basically spent my whole life in the hospital culture. I was raised by a hospital president, and for 25 years I've coached hospital executives right down to the bedside caregiver. So I know that environment. I'm comfortable in that environment. Unfortunately, from 2000 to 2008, all 3 members of my family were hospitalized with terminal illnesses and died in hospitals. So I know it from both sides of the bedpan, as they say. And what I realized from that experience was that while I'm comfortable in that environment, no one else is. So what I realized was that it was the coaching skills that I have used all these years that actually got me through that time period.
And you have tips too in your book for people.
That's really why I created the book.
You say it's physical, mental, and emotional. What does that mean?
Absolutely. The physical part, obviously, you've got to take care of yourself or you're not going to have the stamina. It takes a lot of stamina to be a caregiver. So you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to get enough rest. You've got to hydrate. That's something a lot of people forget about.
Yeah.
I carried a little cooler. Every time I went to the hospital, I had an apple. It became a formula. I had an apple, a little box of cereal with no sugar in it, a power bar, again, no sugar, high protein. I also had, always had a bottle of water with me at all times, so I didn't have to rely on vending machines or hospital cafeterias.
Yeah, and that's little things that people can do.
Absolutely. You also have to make sure, there's a lot of downtime in hospitals, so you have to make sure you get up and move. You can go up and down stairs, walk down the hallway, even if you just stretch in the room, you'll be far better off.
What about the mental and emotional part?
Mental and emotional, one of the things, you're often very forgetful when you're under stress. So mentally, it's another reason to hydrate. If you drink about 4 ounces of water every half hour, your brain will stay more clear because your brain doesn't store water. So that's just a little tip. But keeping mentally clear, also carrying a little spiral-bound notebook where you can jot down details and so forth. Do not rely on your memory.
Get it out of your head and onto
paper. Do not rely on your memory. It will not serve you. Also, just having, I always carried copies of advance directives, living wills, updated medication lists, and I had copies of those with me at all times because you never know when you need those. Also, make sure when you're recording information that you record dates and names of physicians and procedures if at all possible, because you will want to refer to that later. And the emotional part is have some strategies. One of the things I made an absolute commitment was that we were going to commit to focusing on the positive. Every member of my family, we had a pact that we were going to help each other focus on the positive because it will limit fear. And in the hospital environment, it's so foreign that it's very important to have a clear focus. Otherwise, you'll just get afraid.
Thank you so much for the advice. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Her book is available right now. Make sure you guys check it out. And we want you to help us out here with a question from someone named Jack in Lakeland, Florida. He writes in and says, my father recently passed away, leaving my mom, who's 73, by herself. We're trying to convince her to move to Florida to be closer to us, but she's refusing. She lives in North Carolina by herself and doesn't drive. Frankly, it's dangerous and we worry. I know it's a lot of changes at once, but it's a matter of safety. How do we convince her to move? Can he convince her to move? Should he?
Oh my, boy, that's a loaded one. One of the things that I absolutely committed to with all my family members was that I never made them wrong. So I always started every discussion with yes, and and so above all, you'll get resistance. You know, it's physics. You push me, I'll push you back. That's physics. That's how humans operate. So always begin with yes. What a good idea, Mom.
Yeah.
And there's another option here too.
Right.
And we have concerns. And again, she's a mom. She cares about you being happy and feeling good. So she's going to care about your feelings. But above all, do not make her wrong. It may be too many changes for her.
Right, well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, her husband just died,
Yeah.
and she's in this
It's a
environment
lot.
where she's lived for a long time. I mean, it's so hard to ask someone who's just had loss to pick up and move. You're not supposed to do anything for a year
and
after having a
our
loss.
Facebook fans have a lot to say too. Willa said, get her life alert for her safety, and she is grown after all. Remember when you wanted to do what you wanted to? Surely she does. However,
true.
just let her know the door is open, ask her for a visit, let her have her space, don't intrude your life routine on her. She may develop a comfortable place there away from home. Good luck. That's a pretty good advice.
Absolutely, and keep in mind, you know, are you making that request for you or is it truly for
Right,
her?
right.
Because it is an awful lot of losses to pile on top of one
Yeah.
another. That's very difficult to do.
Yeah, our viewer Judy said Life Alert is great for both peace of mind for both of you. We have that for my 88-year-old mother that lives alone and is still very active. There are lots of wonderful services available for seniors in regards to transportation. She's not ready yet. That's a huge change for anyone. It should be her decision. So I think
agree.
everybody kind of agrees
Yeah.
on this one.
Yeah.
Maybe give her some time before
Yeah, I
pushing
think
that.
that's wise.
Yeah,
I think that's
I do
wise.
too.
Give
So
her
best
some
of
time.
luck with that, Jack, and make sure you write us back once it happens and let us know how the conversation went, you know?